Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week on the Alfarrari, I've said it a lot, but this week we actually are on the final rundown to paint. Alright guys, welcome back to Home Built, and as you can see, the Alfarrari is under high-fill primer. It's been sitting for about a week, and today I've got to start getting in and start sanding things back and getting it ready for its second lot of high-fill primer. Like, I know that there's going to be some little things I'm going to have to fix. It just always happens that way. When it's under filler, you can't really, you're relying on feeling everything. And undoubtedly, you can't see it, and you will miss little bits and pieces that do need a bit of extra work. It always happens. It looks really good now, and then once I block it, I'll undoubtedly discover things. It also doesn't help when I screw up like I did with putting the primer on. I didn't put any etched primer underneath. Some of the bare metal spots, there wasn't very much that was open. Small areas doesn't really matter, it's just the bigger areas, and there are a couple of bigger areas of bare metal, particularly on the door, that I need to sand back. And I knew I was going to high fill it again anyway, so I'm not overly concerned. So as you can see, I've spent most of the morning clearing out all the junk out of the spray booth. I've sort of been using it for storage for quite some time, and it was fine when I was doing primer, particularly when I start painting. I really want to have as much room as possible around, and also the 2K clear really seems to get into everything, so if there's anything left in here, it will be covered in overspray, whereas the primer doesn't, it's really thick, and it doesn't leave as much overspray as particularly the clear does. So I think I'm going to move this out now and start guide coating and sanding back this engine bay. Alright, so I've just spent a fair bit of time now going over the engine bay and the underside of the bonnet. I haven't done all of it because I can't get to some of the edges and underneath the hinges and things like that until I take the bonnet off, but I want to leave the bonnet on until the rest of the body is done. I just wanted to sand this back now so that I could do any touch-ups that are needed now without going to... So I know when I pull the whole thing apart whether I need to actually re-primer the entire engine bay or not. And it doesn't look like I'm going to have to. There's just a few little touch-ups I need to do. I might do a couple of little touch-ups of primer, but then I can sand the whole thing back with 400 and then probably 600 or 800 wet and dry to do the final coat. But the 180 at least gives me a good indication of where any little low spots, any things that I need to just tidy up are. I'm just going to put a little bit of spot putty in the little spots that need to be touched up, and then we can start looking at doing the outside of the car. All right, so you can see here, I've just done a few little tiny spots around the place with the spot putty, which only will fill basically pinholes and things like that. I did actually notice that I never really paid attention to before. Along this top edge here, there was spot weld little dents all the way along. So I did a little skim of normal body filler along the edge here and just along the face of this piece here. Just the little pieces that you don't notice until the first layer of primer goes on. So it's worth going over and doing those things. So I'm going to knock them all back now and just get everything back in here, back down to the 180 grit level, so that I'm sort of ready to go, and I'll see whether I actually do any little spots of touch-up filler in here. But I'll come back and do the final sanding of this for colour later, just in case it gets overspray or whatever when I do the final layer of primer filler on the outside. All right, well, I'm really happy with the engine bay and the underside of the bonnet now, at least the bits that I can get to. I've gone through, and you can probably see some of these fresh pink bits where the spot putty I've sort of put into any of the little pinholes and stuff that I've missed and that I've come across, and I'm pretty happy. So even along these edges of the bonnet and stuff like that is all looking quite good. So now it's time to close everything up and start masking out my sharp, crisp lines again to start blocking back the outside of the car, and this is going to be the fun bit. But before I mask it up, I just realised I have to fit the door latches and stuff again so that I can close the doors and get everything so I can make my nice crisp lines. I really love the fact that I've spent a little bit of time bolting the hinge latches back on again, and I know it should be the case, but just adjusting everything, and suddenly everything sits perfectly flat. The lines are super crisp, and yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what the door should fit like, and yeah. Anyway, enough jabbering. I'm going to continue, do the other side, do the boot, and then we can start masking it up and guide coating. Okay, so I have spent a lot of time now masking up and getting my lines nice and crisp and straight again, and I've guide coated it underneath so that I can get in here now and sand it back and keep these nice crisp corners until the very end of the job. The plan is to keep these crisp edges with every layer of sanding all the way up until I am the very last sand before I paint, and I just knock the top of the edge off so it's just not super sharp, but it will keep the shape there, because it's so easy when you're at this blocking stage to just block them out and have this sort of weird edge that's dull here and sharp here and dull. You want to keep it nice and consistent, and that's where keeping it this way should hopefully keep me in the right level. So I'm going to go over the whole car now with 180 grit, and yep, let's get back to sanding. Oh, that is so much sanding. I've glossed over most of it and you haven't seen it, but it's been pretty much a full day of sanding now to get most of the car done. As you can see, I'm still masked up, so I haven't done these sections in here, but I'll take you around and show you some of the things that I found. So most of the car is pretty good. I'm actually quite impressed with the level that I got it to this time in the first hit, because usually there's lots of things you find, it's just the way it is when you block it back for the first time. when it's under body filler and metal and epoxy primer, it's all different colours. You can't see what's happening, and it's quite easy to miss little things. But once you've got it one colour and then block it back the first time, it really shows up what is good and what's not so good. So let's take you around now. I'll just show you some of the things. I'm not finished, but let's give you a look. So most of these sides are really good. I've got to take these bare metal sections back a little bit further because I didn't actually put any etch primer on it before I did the high fill, so I just want to sand it back a bit further on this particular part that I didn't cover. When I was showing you in the booth, it's probably hard to see here, you can sort of see where I've sanded, and that's a good indication of what a low spot is. And I did mention that when I just primed the car. That's got to get a bit of a fill, and there's another one just here. So the rest of the roof is actually pretty good. It's just these couple of little spots that need a little tiny touch up. Coming around the back, the boot and all the other areas are really quite good. There's a little low spot just here. So, you know, and yeah, maybe a little bit on that edge. Some of the edges I need to go around and just sort of touch up on the very edges where they're not perfect. On the back here, again, there's a little low spot here. You can see some of these highs that aren't great either. But I think with the primer filler, it should sort those bits out. Again, another bit here. You can see sort of high spots here where the bare metal is with the low spot in the middle there. And that's ultimately what it is. Bulk of the car is looking really, really neat and straight. It's just those couple of little tiny bits. So now's the extremely tedious part of going around and sanding all of the edges all the way around just with a folded up piece of 180 grit and finding any of these little spots. So I'm not sure how well the camera's picking that up there. Little bits like that there. So there's a tiny little spot that I have to get out some spot putty and touch that up just on the edge and just sort of go around all the way around. So there's tiny little low spots here and just check over every gap all the way around the car and make sure that it's all perfect before we go into the next round of primer. Okay, that has been crazy amount of work. I thought I'd really knock this over much quicker, but I've spent 3 whole days on this so far, and I still haven't finished it yet. I've just added a skim of filler into the low areas and gone around with the spot putty just in the tiny little pinholes and stuff I could find. But I'm going to leave this to set up now, and hopefully I'll be able to come back in a couple of days, finish it off and get this under high fill primer for the final time. That would be good. All right, it's been a couple of days and all of these little skims I put on a setup, so it's time to do the last push, sand this stuff back, and let's see if we can get that final coat of high fill on today. All right, well, this is the second time around, and like I said, I knew I was going to have to do some touch-up work after the first lot of high build primer, and I am much happier with this now. It looks so much better. I've gone over everything. I think I've found all the little bits and pieces that I wanted to. I think it's in a really good shape now for its final high fill primer, which I'm going to do now. So now it's time to get all this dust off, clean it up, fix up any of my masking that's sort of come away, and give it its coat of highfill. All right, time to mix up the last batch of highfill primer to get onto the car. I'm so looking forward to being this stage done. Oh, this is looking so nice. I mean, I know it probably looks exactly the same to you guys as it did last week, but trust me, it is so much straighter. It's so much nicer. Everything is crisp and just, it's good. I like it.
Hey guys, 1982 saw further development of Ferrari's 126C Formula One car, which had been all new the previous year with the 126C2. The car received a total overhaul, including an all-new chassis, which was Ferrari's first total monocoque. It also sorted out the turbo engine's reliability and proved to be vastly smaller, nimbler, with overall improved aerodynamics. The car proved to be fast, with Didier Pironi winning at Monaco and with his teammate Gilles Villeneuve coming in second and accusing Didier of disobeying team orders. At the Long Beach Grand Prix, the Ferrari was set up with a radical two-wing setup, which had both wings which were offset fore and aft and side by side, effectively making one much larger wing. This was exploiting a loophole in the rules and was mainly a protest against Williams' water-cooled brakes. Villeneuve managed to make his way up to finish third, but was then disqualified. Sadly, Villeneuve died in a horrifying crash during qualifying in Belgium. Pironi also had a similar crash later that year in Germany, which he luckily survived. However, it did end his racing career. Despite all these awful misfortunes, Ferrari did go on to win the 1982 Formula One Constructors' Championship.
All right, well, that is the final primer filler, and I am very, very happy with the result. It's really looking good, which means that next week I will be finally revealing the colour. It will actually get some colour, probably in the engine bay next week. So, well, there won't be a video next week because I've got to leave this set up for a bit, and Mrs. Jeff and I are going away. So in 2 weeks' time, the video will be back and the colour will be revealed. And I know a lot of you have been waiting for it. Can you guys put in the comments, put what your guess is, and I'll tally them up and sort of in the reveal video, I'll sort of show what all of your guesses sort of averages are, and we'll just see how many of you are right and how many of you are really angry with me.
Cute nervous laugh.
Yes.
Like and subscribe if you want to watch the videos a day early as well. You can join Jeff on Patreon and let him know what he thinks. Let's read in your comments, like I say every time.
Yep.
But
so enjoy, guys. Looking forward to the colour. I'm really looking forward to revealing it. All right, guys. See ya.
Hey guys, 1982 saw fourth. Hey guys, 1982 saw.
Yeah.
With further developments, yeah, no, if I don't get it right the first time, it takes 20 times. Mm-hmm. Had been all new in the previous year. All new chassis, which was Ferrari's, including an all new monocoque, which was Ferrari's first monocoque. Ferrari went on to win the 1982 Ferrari Constructors' Championship.
Formula One Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, that makes. I was thinking it doesn't make sense.